always dropping something. Okay, don't hate me, but we're not doing eyeshadow today. We're just going to talk a little bit about winter makeup and the things that you probably should be using versus the things that you shouldn't, while also getting ready together, of course. I am going to start with my brows, and I'm going to use some Rare Beauty. Hopefully I can pick up some new brow gel tomorrow while we're out and about, because I do plan on making a little stop at SEPHORA, but in the meantime, in between time, this is what we're going to use. Honestly, I really like this product. I think I've told you guys that every single time I've used it. It wouldn't hurt to try a little something different. I don't know. I feel like I've been out of makeup for so long. I don't even know what's trending. I don't know what people like anymore. I don't even know what I like anymore. Not gonna lie, my brows can use a little bit of a trim, just like evening them out a little bit, but I just do not have time for that today. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, even prior to me coming back this whatever time it's been, because I feel like every time I sit down and film a video, it's always like, oh, I'm back. But I have stopped using primer, and I feel like the reason why I did that is because I don't really feel like I need it. Primer has just always been one of those things that I didn't feel was absolutely necessary. Was it nice to use? Yes, but not necessary, especially if you have a really good skincare routine. So I feel like my skincare is pretty good, so I'm going to skip over that, and I'm just going to prep the face, if you will, with some of this Tatcha Luminous Dewy Mist, and I'm going to use a small amount because if you use too much, you're going to be too oily. This is just going to help, you know, with the hydration, especially because it's cold outside. You want to make sure that you are moisturizing your face, but also hydrating it, because there's a difference between moisture and hydration. And you want to make sure that you're combating the dry patches and things like that if you suffer from that during the winter time. I'm going to move to filling in my brows a little bit. I'm not going to get too precise with this, and I'm just going to go ahead and just create upward strokes in my brow. This is just to help fill them in a little bit, make them look a little more uniformed. I remember the days where I used to just kind of like carve out my brow before filling it in. Now I just go in and just draw lines, but either method works. It just all depends on how you want your brows to look. Honestly, I want them to look as natural as possible, but I want them to also look full and not sparse. And this brow that I'm working on right now definitely gives sparse. I really thought I loved this KOSAS pencil, but honestly, I don't recommend it. I feel like the pigmentation could be so much better. Brows really make or break the face. I'm going to clean up the brows just a little bit with some of my Nars Soft Matte Concealer, and I'm just going to use a flat brush. I'm always dropping something. I promise we will get to the eyeshadow this year. I'm not going to let you guys down with that, but today's just not that day. I'm going to apply this in the dark spots. I do want to color correct, but I do have a couple of pimples that this does a really, really good job of concealing somewhat, at least the color. Not so much texture. Texture you can't hide, but color you can. So I'm just going to just like tap this into place. Now I'm going to go in with the e.l.f. This is the color corrector in the shade Peach. And I'm just going to use this to color correct a little bit on the lip area because y'all know I got a mustache. So gotta hide her because I have not shaved her. Okay? That's just the reality. Press that into the skin. I'm just going to use this fluffy brush. This is the JH08 brush. And I'm just going to start pressing this. I'm not necessarily trying to move the product. I just want to kind of blend it in. Cream products are going to be your best friend in the winter. I'm going to take some of the Haus Labs concealer, and I'm going to apply my concealer first because honestly I want more concealer than I want like foundation or anything. And speaking of using cream products, I steer away from matte products. So you want something that's a little bit more hydrating in the wintertime because you, again, don't want any matte or powder products to be sticking and clinging to them dry patches if you have that issue. If you don't, I mean, I still wouldn't prefer matte. You know, matte is more for like summertime, you know? That's the vibe. It's probably a lot of concealer to most, but again, the concealer is kind of the focus. We may go in with a little bit of foundation, very, very little if necessary, but honestly, the goal is not to have to use foundation. And for this, I'm just gonna start pressing this in where it's at. I believe this is the IT Cosmetics brush. It's very similar to the e.l.f. dupe, so either brush works. I'm not getting too close to my under eye with this brush. I'm actually going to use a powder puff to blend in the concealer closer to my under eye so that it blends a little more seamless. I'm kind of feeling like I need a little bit brighter of a concealer in the inner corner, but I am trying to steer away from using matte products. And I know that this concealer that I've been talking about is a matte product. Using it under my brows, you know, to conceal and covering up dark spots is not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm definitely trying to avoid having to put it underneath my eyes. And honestly, that's probably the only like brighter concealer that I have. So I'm gonna hold off for now, but I am going to apply a small amount of foundation. I'm gonna use the Pat McGrath Labs again. I used this in the last video, and I'm just gonna use just about as much as I used last time. Just a small amount, just to give the skin a little color, especially like underneath here, so that way it's not looking too skin-like over there and then looking like I have makeup everywhere else. For cream contour, I'm going to use the Nars Laguna bronzing cream. I was looking at this last time and I kind of wanted to use it, but we're definitely going to tap into it today, and I'm just going to use this SEPHORA 47 brush just to kind of brush this back towards my hairline. I'm going to start up here and then I'll come down. With whatever is left on the brush, I'm just going to hit my nose with that. I'm not someone who likes to be like super precise with their nose. It's not what I'm into, but if that's something you want to do, then by all means do that. And I'm going to go back with the other brush that I was using just to kind of tap over everything and just make sure everything's kind of nicely blended together. I'm going to use some powder to set things down. I'm going to go in with my pressed powder. This is the Sephora Micro Smooth. I'm going to use this to smooth some things out underneath the eyes and the chin. Remember, this powder is slightly pigmented, but not like extremely pigmented. And it's also something that is a little closer to my skin tone, so it doesn't look super makeup-y, if that makes sense. We're not adding any brightness or anything like that, but we're definitely making sure our skin is nice and smooth before we go in with loose powder. I'm also going to take a little of my MAC powder. This one I like to use for my face mainly, and I'm just going to take a big fluffy brush, tap into that, and just press this everywhere else on the skin. This too is going to help just like smooth things out and just give a little extra coverage that you didn't know you needed onto the skin. Honestly, if you didn't want to, you don't even have to go in with any type of like loose powder. This works just as it is, to be quite honest. I'm going to use a small amount of this loose powder from Huda Beauty. This is the banana bread powder. And I'm going to use a small amount of this just because I feel like it's going to help just brighten the under eyes a little bit. I don't want it to be like overly bright or anything, but just a little right here in the inner corners. For bronzer, I'm going to use my Haus Labs bronzer in Deep Level 9. And I'm just going to start tapping that onto the skin. I like a bronzy look. That's really my signature go-to kind of thing to do, is just to apply lots of bronzer to the skin and just have those brown tones. I feel like it's what complements me best, so that's kind of what I like to stick to. And I'm just going to apply that like I'm doing blush as well. Now, of course, to finish things off, we have to set everything down. And I'm going to use the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. This is the Prep and Set Mist. And just spray a good amount of this. This is just going to help lock everything down, melt everything. If you thought that I was going to finish this look without pulling out my Sephora palette and applying some highlighter, you're mistaken. So of course we're going to take that gold highlight and we're going to just apply that in the areas that we want. And then to finally set things down once more and just kind of give more of a dewier finish, I'm going to go ahead and use the Fenty Beauty Baby What It Do setting mist. But let me tell you, I have my eye on the new one and I want to compare that one to this one before I run out, because literally I only have a little bit. So we're going to spray our face with this. For a little gloss, I'm going to go ahead and use my Lawless. This is the Forget the Filler. This is in Rosy Outlook. Just a clear pinky gloss. What do you guys think of today's look? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, I love you guys. I appreciate you, and I cannot wait to see you all in the next one, whether that be a video or a vlog, whichever one comes first.